Oh my gosh, Rob Zombie.
Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Carter Walker. I love talking about movies, music, games, comics, and everything in between. Today I'm going to try something new, something I haven't ever done before. But for the month of October, I wanted to watch like a horror film a day. Didn't quite get to that because school and exams, I'm pretty busy, and also Modern Warfare 2 came out. So I haven't really been doing anything for like the last 4 or 5 days besides playing that game. So sorry. But I was able to watch every single Halloween film. And so I just kind of wanted to sit down and rank them all today. You know, there's reboots, remakes, sequels of remakes. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's a pretty crazy and weird franchise. A little bit of background about me and the Halloween franchise is I always kind of considered myself a Halloween fan since I watched John Carpenter's original from 1978. And then I saw the 2018 one directed by David Gordon Green. And I mean, I love both of those to death. I thought they were like amazing movies. And as the new trilogy came out, I kind of wanted to go back and check out some of the older Halloween films, some that I had missed. And so I kind of did that periodically, but I had never really made it past 3. And so this year I had extra time on my hands and I decided to kind of go back and watch every single Halloween movie. And wow, they are terrible. A lot of them are so bad. I don't think I've ever been so like surprised at like franchise quality before. I mean, you have the original, which is like a complete masterpiece in horror and suspense, and then you have something like Halloween 5 and Halloween 6 that are just absolutely awful. Just some of the worst movies I've ever seen in my entire life. And I'll kind of get into that more as I do the ranking, but very, very surprising to see the level of quality here. And honestly, I'm like appalled that they just keep getting made. It's like the Transformers movies, but at least the Transformers movies are like fun. I mean, there's nothing fun about seeing a mute girl run around the whole movie with her best friend that has a stutter, and Tina, who's like the worst character in horror. I did not like Halloween 5. You'll see in a minute. But yeah, I just thought I decided to kind of stop and rank all of them. So starting from the bottom, these are movies that I just hate, I despise, I will never watch again unless for some reason I get paid or my channel blows up and I do another ranking video in like 5 years, but I don't see either one of those happening. I would hope so, but again, I have no idea. So bottom of the barrel, the absolute worst, most awful movie I've ever seen, not even just for a Halloween movie, but for horror in general, big budget cinema, is Halloween 5. I hate this movie. If you watched my Halloween Ends review, I was tearing this to shreds in my review. And my mom saw it, and so I promised her I would not say any more swear words on my YouTube channel, regardless of whether or not they were censored. So, Halloween 5 freaking sucks. It is so bad. Everything about it is so bland and boring, and just, it boggles my mind how it was made. It takes the ending of the 4th one, which is actually pretty decent, and just completely does away with it. Michael gets saved by some hobo down by the river, and he nurses him back to health, and Michael just hangs out with him for a year. They go fishing and whatnot. They probably go boating and romantic trips and crap like that. It's so stupid. I don't know how it ever got made, how it made it past the script writing process. The director got it and said, yeah, that's awesome, let's make it. And no one, while they were filming, no one said, hey, maybe that's a bad idea. Maybe this is stupid. Let's do something else. Let alone any of the other ideas in this movie. I mean, they kill off Rachel in the first, 20, 30 minutes. She's like the only likable character from Halloween 4, in my opinion. The only character that I liked and from Halloween 4 just immediately wiped off the face of the earth by a absolutely terrible Michael Myers, a terrible portrayal. The Mask is, I don't even remember. I tried to burn this movie out of my memory. I never do this. I always try and watch movies in one sitting. I rarely break them up, especially if they're short. I mean, like, I broke up, like, the Snyder Cut, maybe for, like, I took a 10-minute break because it's 4 freaking hours, but for something that's Halloween 5, it's like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, I had to take, like, 4 breaks. I just could not watch it. It was, like, physically painful for me to watch it, and I don't ever feel that way. I love movies. I love watching movies. I can watch movies all day and all night. I live and breathe movies. Everyone who knows me knows this. I could talk about them forever. But I could not finish this movie. I could not bring myself to finish this movie. It was so boring, and it was so aggravating. They turned Loomis into some weird creep who just grabs Jamie the whole time. He's like, Jamie, why are you protecting? And he's like shaking her and like screaming, and she's like mute, just like staring at him. And her friend has like a stutter, and I'm not going to imitate it because I'm going to get canceled in 5 years. It was nuts. I was bored to death the whole movie. I could not stand it. I did not want to watch this movie. I did not want to keep going. I kept going. I literally thought about quitting. The only time I thought about not finishing this ranking video was during Halloween 5. There was probably 4 separate times where I was like, I could just like cut it here. I can just skip it, right? But I was like, I have to keep watching. I have to keep watching. I feel bad, but it's just such a bland, boring movie. It has no flavor, no substance, no style even, and it is just an awful knockoff. If you told me it was a parody movie, I'd believe you. It has Tina, who's like the worst character of all time. It has a million fake out jump scares. I've already spent 5 minutes talking about this probably, so I need to move on so this video is not an hour and it doesn't blow up my Mac while I'm rendering it. Coming out at number 12, what most people would pick for the bottom of the barrel for the franchise, it's going to be Resurrection. This is pretty bad. I mean, it's just as bad as Halloween 5. Arguably worse, I'd say, in most people's eyes, because it ruins the character of Laurie Strode, it ruins her storyline, it takes away the ending of H2O, which has one of the better endings of the Halloween movies, and just throws it in the garbage, just stomps on it, spits on it, pees on the grave, you know, you name it, it just absolutely demolishes everything that, you know, Jamie Lee Curtis tried to do with the character. And I don't know how any of this got past the script writing process. Again, everything that's been said about Halloween Resurrection that I'm thinking about saying has been said before. It's boring, it's stupid, it is bland, it is absolutely ridiculous concept for a Halloween movie. The mask is terrible. Michael Myers just kind of stares down Busta Rhymes and lets him go. Busta Rhymes beats up Michael Myers with karate he learned from freaking kung fu movies, staying in a stupid motel or some crap like that. He tases Michael Myers in the balls, kills off Jamie Lee Curtis and Laurie Strode in the first, 15 minutes, and something absolutely ridiculous. Doesn't even have anything to do with H2O. I'm just gonna move on. This movie sucks. I hated it. And coming in at number 11, another terrible movie is Rob Zombie's Halloween, the first one. This was hard to watch. It is so weird. It is so like aggressively redneck and like crass. Which, I mean, oh, come on, I'm 20, I was in high school, I know crass, I know filthy, I know inappropriate. Like, come on, dude, Rob Zombie does not know how to write dialogue, he does not know how to write characters. This just plays as like a country, backwater Louisiana version of Michael Myers' origin for the first 2 acts, including a bunch of Michael Myers' backstory that we really did not need. You don't need backstory for Michael Myers, that's what makes him scary. It does not matter to me that he was abused or whatever. His stepdad said the most disgusting thing to his mom one day, or told him he looked fat. I don't even know. I tried to cut it out. Like, I'm usually not bothered by dialogue. I can look past dialogue. I can say, okay, that was a stupid line, or okay, that was a really weird and very crass thing to say, but this just bothered me, man. Like, I heard every review was like, it's like so crass, so dirty, and I was like, whatever, it doesn't really bug me too bad, you know, I'm in college. And I'm watching it, I was like, oh my gosh, like, what the freak? Rob Zombie, what are you talking about, man? Like, what goes on in your head? Like, someone gotta check on Rob Zombie, dude. Make sure he's okay, because what the heck? And also, Sherry Moon Zombie needs to stop working with... They need to stop working together, you know? It's awesome that you're married. It is awesome that, you know, they love each other very much. But she's all right in this movie. She's okay. I'll talk more about her in Halloween 2. And for some reason, Rob Zombie just decided to shoehorn her in that movie for no freaking reason at all, and it just drags the movie down incredibly. But yeah, wow, it was hard to watch. Halloween 2007 was definitely very hard to watch. Loomis, Malcolm McDowell, Dr. Monty, he does his best, but I just don't think he holds a candle to Donald Pleasance. I mean, who could? But it's just like a weird rendition of Loomis. He like tries to be nice, but he comes off as like a tool a lot of the time. It was weird. It was just weird characterizations. Laurie Strode just felt weird. It just feels like Rob Zombie dialed everything up to 11, you know, the nudity up to 11, the dialogue up to 11, and the violence up to 11. And, you know, sometimes the violence works. I liked a little bit of the kills, you know, but it just felt like it was unnecessarily mean and excessive for no reason. And I don't know. I like gore. I like violence in my horror movies. It just felt excessive. It just felt like it was putting too much on the plate, just like trying to pound you over the head with like just insane thing after insane thing. I don't even know how to describe it. I'm like at a loss for words right now. It's just, it's a lot to take in, and I did not like it very much or at all. Definitely not something I'd ever want to rewatch. I don't really understand how people like it, apart from the third act is like a super sped up version of John Carpenter's classic, which, I mean, I stole that line right from Cody Leach, but it's all I could think about. It's just not done very well. It has none of the tension of the original, none of the acting or the charisma of the original, or none of the charm of the original. So I did not like this whatsoever. At number 10, we have Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. It just, again, it's vulgar, it's weird. Loomis is an absolute monster in this movie. Just, everyone is so terrible in this movie. It just makes it so miserable to watch. Like, every character is just in their personal hell, this movie, and just it's like not fun to see, you know? Like no one, not saying that I go to Halloween movies to have fun, but like no one is having fun. No one is like enjoying themselves on screen, you know, having a good time. The kills are actually pretty good in this one. That's why I rate it higher than the bottom 4 or the bottom 3 of this list. I liked some of the kills. I watched, I don't know, whichever cut Michael doesn't talk in, so that was cool, but like Laurie walks out with his mask. That's stupid. It is so dumb. Rob Zombie does not know how to write a script. He does not know how to write dialogue. He does not know how to write characters. The only positive I could give this movie outside of the kills is that it's cool to see Laurie react to Michael Myers being her brother. I do not care for that idea whatsoever. I've disliked it ever since I saw Halloween 2, ever since I heard about it. I just don't think it works. I'll get into that later, but I mean, it's cool to see her react because she doesn't in the original movies, doesn't even know or whatever. But again, it just crass, it's vulgar, it's just a ton shoved onto your plate in an hour 45 for no reason at all, just for the sake of being overbearing, just for the sake of having nudity, just for the sake of having excessive violence, for no reason at all. It's just not my kind of movie. I mean, I appreciate that he took a few risks, but I don't think it paid off whatsoever. Okay, from here on out, these are all movies that I would say are likable, that I can find a lot more positive things about. You know, the first two that I'll go through, 9 and 8, I'm not too thrilled about, but I will watch them again, and I can find things that I like about them. Number 9 is going to be Halloween 6. Might be a controversial pick, but I actually kind of like this movie. It was kind of like fun to watch. Like, I had a good time watching it. I didn't feel like I was being dragged through personal hell by Rob Zombie or just being suspended in disbelief by Halloween Resurrection and Busta Rhymes karate kicking Michael Myers. It was a normal Halloween movie. It has that atmosphere. It has an interesting plot line. And I watched the theatrical cut, the one that doesn't have the weird incest Michael Myers thing, because that's stupid. That is absolutely ridiculous. I don't know why people who make Halloween movies decide that incest is just something that needs to be piled onto the Halloween franchise, as it doesn't. It has no place in the Halloween franchise. Never did, never will. Don't know why they insist on that. Freaking weird. I liked it. You know, Paul Rudd, he's fun. I like Paul Rudd. I'm a normie. I like Paul Rudd. I think he's funny. I think he has a fun time in this role. He's weird. He's goofy. Loomis does absolutely nothing in this movie, but that's fine. You know, Donald Pleasance was pretty much on his deathbed, sadly, but I mean, I don't hold it against the movie. It just feels weird when he just vanishes from the end. The ending is super weird, I'd say, with Michael Myers just like slaughtering everyone in that hospital as they're trying to, I don't even remember. I don't remember. It's very forgettable. It kills Jamie pretty quickly, no matter what cut you watch. Super weird. Her death is a little sad. It's just like super violent, but I mean, again, apart from that, nothing overly aggressive or offensive to Halloween fans, so I mean, I'm just gonna put it in there. Number 8, one that might get me flamed, Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. I don't see it. I don't see what everyone else sees about this movie. I thought it was okay at best. It's just more of the same, you know? It doesn't do anything new with the character, Michael Myers. I just don't, you know, I wasn't there for the nostalgia. I wasn't, like, super hyped up on it. I didn't see it when I was young, and I just kind of saw it a few weeks ago, and it didn't grab me. It was just, you know, it's there. The scenes with Michael Myers kind of like escaping and he has the bandaged face and Dr. Loomis sees him in the diner. I thought that was cool. I liked that. But then after that, I didn't like Jamie that much. I thought Rachel was super weak until the end. But I liked how, you know, they're all holed up in that house, that random house for no reason. But then everyone just leaves. I thought that was stupid, you know. I mean, I understand it's a horror movie. You got to give it a little bit of credit or whatever people say. But it's stupid, you know. They just find every reason after another to be like, okay, I have to go. Jamie, we're going to go check your parents' house. Also, these 4 cops that are here, they're going to leave too. And your older sister, Rachel, is going to stay here and hang out with you, with the guy that just tried to have sex with her friend. But we're not going to talk about that. All right, cool, have fun. It's so stupid. I just did not... as soon as that happened, I was like, oh my gosh, not again. And I get it. Every Halloween movie has its fair share of plot holes. None of them are perfect except one of them or 2 of them. The kills are okay. The mob stuff is weird. I don't think it's ever going to work in a Halloween movie. I didn't find it interesting in here. I found it a little more interesting in Kills, and I'll get to that later, but they literally just, like, shoot a guy dead, and they're like, dang, that sucks. Anyways, let's go do something else. I mean, it's like, I get it. You don't want to focus on that in a Halloween movie like they did in Kills. It drags down the movie, but it's like, oh my gosh, just ignore the mob plot line, please. Somebody do it. But yeah, I didn't like The Mask. I thought the portrayal of Michael Myers, it was okay, but not my favorite. Halloween 4 has an incredible ending. I love the movie just gets so much better because of the ending. If it had a different ending, I would say I'm not too big of a fan. However, because of that ending, it definitely raises it up a few points. Coming in at number 7, a movie that I used to hate. I used to hate this movie, and now it's climbed up my list pretty quick after seeing the rest of the sequels, and I was like, wow, Halloween 2, you're not that bad. Halloween 2, not that bad. That's my official tagline for it. But I mean, it's very atmospheric. I think the number one thing I can give to this movie is the atmosphere is perfect. It's just like the original. The score isn't as good, of course, as the original, but I'd say it nails the atmosphere. Maybe not the tone as much, but it's got that, you know, the Halloween, like, old school charm and the old school kind of creep and tension that you can't quite put your finger on. Especially the chase in the basement at the end with Laurie kind of like limping her way through. You know, it's kind of frustrating because you're like, oh my gosh, Laurie, just get a move on. But I mean, it's cool. I thought it worked very well. But this movie is not without its flaws. Every time I watch it, I just can't help but think, you know, why is this hospital completely empty? Like, I get it. I lived in Kansas, like Hiawatha, Kansas, a town of 3,000 people, which is certainly a lot smaller than Haddonfield. I lived there for like 6 months, and I had to go to the hospital a few times. And dude, the hospital was always busy. It was popping, dude. Everyone, all those Kansans were just at the hospital all the time. You cannot tell me that a hospital on Halloween night is just completely empty except for like 5 people. Like that, I'm sorry, I don't buy that. And then the police just ramming Ben Tramer and just having him give the most gruesome death. It just always gets a laugh out of me. It's not funny whatsoever. This dude is just getting like manslaughtered by a police officer. But it's like the funniest thing I've ever seen. It just comes out of nowhere. Just runs him over, lights on fire, the car explodes, and they're like, all right, guys, pack it up. We got Michael Myers. We're good, fellas. And they don't. I mean, of course, but I mean, every character in this movie just seems incompetent. The plot holes are abundant. Loomis doesn't really get much to do. Laurie gets even less to do than somehow, like, every other character in the franchise. She just hangs out. It just didn't work for me. I think it's pretty slow at some parts. The kills are cool, you know? Kills are awesome. The hot tub kill is cool. I like how it's a little bit bloodier, a little bit meaner. Michael Myers walking through the door at the end is ridiculous. Also, how he's like blindly slashing at Loomis and Laurie at the end. I hate it. I hate that part. I have a lot of nitpicks about this movie. I have a lot of little gripes that I just can't get rid of. I don't know why. I want to like it. I think it's a very interesting idea. It's a very creative idea, and I like the setup for it quite a bit, but I just don't think they executed it well. From here on out, these are movies I'd give like a 6 and up to. Movies that I like, that I can find a lot more that I like about them than I dislike, instead of just kind of being in the middle. Number 6 is going to be H2O. I like this movie a lot. I think it's a very simple setup, a very simple movie. Not a ton of kills, not a ton of gore, not a ton of violence. But it's just simple, you know? It's a nice, simple, like, character study of Laurie 20 years later. And I mean, I like her trauma in this one. I think it also makes a lot of sense. She's just, like, kind of moved on, changed her name, her identity. She's an alcoholic. I can't get rid of that for some reason, but has a kid. I thought it was interesting. You know, it's a cool twist with the prep school thing, and I don't know. I don't really have a lot to say about this movie. I thought it was interesting. The kills are cool. The characters are okay. I mean, it wasn't anything super special. I really thought this was a inoffensive, like, likable slasher. Like, it's a good way to kill 90 minutes. It's very fast-paced. The tension is high in the third act, and what really like sets this apart is it's got an incredible ending. I think it's kind of funny. Laurie just like hijacks an ambulance, holds like multiple people at gunpoint. I mean, cool, go for it, Laurie. But I don't know. It's just not super interesting to me. The ending though, however, again, where she just like brings the axe down on Michael's head. I love that part. I thought that was awesome. A great way to close off her story, close off Michael's story. But again, I'm not too big on the sibling angle. Another thing with Halloween 2 that I'm not too big of a fan of. Halloween 2 doesn't really focus on it though. H2O, it focuses on it a lot. And I don't like the sibling angle. Michael is so much better when he's just mysterious, when he is just, you know, out killing folks for the fun of it, just because he feels like it, or he is killing them because he like feels a power or whatever. I don't know, whatever explanation you can do besides it's part of the Thorn ritual, it's part of a cult, it's for mommy, or it's because he's trying to kill his sister and is trying to end his bloodline. I'm cool with it. As long as it's not those 4, I can rock with it. I'm a pretty easy guy to please. Unless it comes to Halloween movies, then most of them freaking are garbage. Anyways, off my little tangent. Going into the top 5 here, Halloween Ends. I'm going to say Halloween Ends is number 5. I always go back and forth between this and number 4, but Halloween Ends, I've talked about it a lot on my channel. I can see the hate, honestly. I thought it was decent. I can see the hate. For a Michael Myers versus Laurie movie, it does a piss poor job of telling that story until the last 15 minutes. And even then, although it gives a satisfying conclusion, their ending like battle just isn't that great to me. I think Corey Cunningham is a cool addition to the franchise, although the way his arc wraps up, I'm not sure if I'm too big on it. Allison doesn't really get a lot to do, so I'm not too hyped about that. But Laurie is awesome in this movie. What we do get to see of Michael, I liked. And again, I liked the Corey angle and the town's evil, like rubbing off on him and the town like kind of pressuring down on him. David Gordon Green's trilogy, especially Kills and Ends, are full of very interesting and very creative ideas that I think could really do well in the Halloween franchise if they weren't so rushed. If they weren't so like sloppily executed, you know. I'll get to that too when I talk about Kills, but in Ends, the idea that Michael Myers is evil has like rubbed off on the town, and so like almost every year or every time something bad happens, they pick a new scapegoat and it just rubs off. I thought that was interesting. I think that's a super interesting idea. Introducing it in the last act of story between Michael Myers and Laurie Strode, I don't think that's a pretty good idea, especially with how they hyped it up with it being Michael versus Laurie. A lot of people are mad about it online. I can see why. I don't think petitions need to be made or death threats need to be sent. I don't care. I do think it was a weird choice to be made, but I can see both sides. And honestly, at the end of the day, I came out liking the movie. It's got some great kills. The soundtrack is incredible. I've been listening to it a lot. Yeah, I'd say Halloween Ends is pretty decent. You know, it's not a classic yet. It might be for some people. For me, not a classic. But going into number 4, Halloween Kills. And I know a lot of people will probably have this a lot lower on the list because of the writing. The writing is terrible. I mean, it's just as bad as Halloween 4, 5, 6. I'd say it's terrible dialogue, terrible writing. Again, it's got great ideas, but just executed so poorly. You know, the idea that the town of Haddonfield is becoming a character, the town of Haddonfield is like, oh my gosh, Michael Myers is slaughtering all these people, is pretty interesting. However, I don't think it would have had the effect it did because he killed like 3 or 4 people back in 1978, and now 40 years later they've never forgotten it or forgave it. I mean, there's a serial killer from where I'm from, Ted Bundy, who killed like way more people than that. But like if Ted Bundy showed up somehow 40 years later now, I mean, he's dead. I don't think me and my community would break out baseball bats and be like, evil dies tonight, let's go kill him, man. It's stupid. It's not believable. It's stupid. However, I do kind of enjoy the mob angle of it just because it adds a lot more carnage to the film, especially the scene with Michael Myers and the firefighters. I love that part. However, with Halloween Kills, I think the writing is terrible. I mean, everyone really does. The acting, especially from the mob side of things, and Tommy's a little stale, isn't the greatest. Laurie doesn't get a lot to do again. That's another one of my gripes with this. But Judy Greer's Karen is an excellent character, and then Andy Matichak as Allison also does a great job. I really liked the angle they do with Cameron. He gets like the worst freaking death of all time. That is so brutal. I love his death. I think all the kills in this movie are incredible. I do think Sandra should have stayed dead. She's the girl in Halloween Ends that has the, like, she can't talk because she got the glass shoved in her throat. Like, you're telling me that she somehow made it? Like, no way. There's no way. I think Halloween Kills, you know, good ideas, executed terribly. I just don't think it worked out very well. However, I can still find myself, like, really enjoying the movie a lot of the times as long as it's not in the hospital. I think the stuff outside the hospital is miles above the stuff in the hospital. It kind of offsets to about probably like a 6.5, 7-ish. Probably the same score I'd give Halloween Ends. I need to watch Halloween Ends one more time to see kind of what I really think, but I shouldn't have time. Number 3 is going to be Halloween Season of the Witch. So I freaking love this movie. This movie is so good. It is, in my eyes, it's a horror classic. It is an absolute classic. I watch it every single year for Halloween. I adore this movie. Just like a blind purchase I made about like a year ago, maybe more, with Gage, and we picked it up and we decided to watch it and fell in love instantly. Both of us love this movie. Like, this movie is so good. It's an anthology. It's a step away from Michael Myers. And I think now that time has passed and you know that going into it, you know, okay, it's an anthology. It's separate from the series. You go into it and just with different expectations, and it's incredible. I think it's a very violent, very dark, but also has like the old 80s charm to it that I just love. The protagonist, I always forget his name, but I think he's awesome. I love his mustache. Yeah, I kind of miss mine. I'm clean shaven. That sucks, but I love like the look of him and how he just acts and how he behaves. And I love like the cyborg stuff. Like, it makes no sense how these people are machines, but it's just so much fun to watch. The Stonehenge stuff is absolutely ridiculous. Makes no sense, again, but it's just fun to watch. The fact that the villain just wants to kill kids for fun, just to sacrifice them. It's dark, it's twisted, but not in a way like how Rob Zombie would have done it. Like, if Rob Zombie had it, Rob Zombie would just show you kids getting slaughtered by the millions in, like, incredibly graphic ways. Probably with some incest thrown in there just for fun, just for kicks and giggles, along with probably the most crass and vile dialogue against children you've ever heard in your life. But Halloween 3 just kind of takes that premise in a way where it makes it scary. The kills are brutal, but also has a like fun and a charm to it. And I just find myself like rewatching it, and the ending is probably like my second favorite in the franchise. Perfect ending. It's awesome, you know, with just the cuts on his scream. It's like, turn it off, turn it off. Awesome. I love that ending. You know, I think it is just like a great horror movie, great cult classic. I think it's severely underrated. People hate on this way too much in the Halloween fandom. So going into number 1 and 2, so I'd say my top 3 are all movies that I love. Top 3 movies, I'd all give 4.5 stars or above to, you know, like 8.5 plus to all 3 of them. You know, I'd say Halloween 3 is like an 8.5. And then number 2 and number 1, I'd say are both 10s for me. But I kind of go back and forth on which one I like more. And for number 2, I'm going to go with the 1978 original, John Carpenter's Halloween. This is the best Halloween movie. This is by far and away the best Halloween movie. It's the best made, best written, most consistent. It is by far the scariest. It is the most effective, the best tale of like horror and slashers that we ever gotten in the Halloween franchise, far and away, and I recognize that. But I don't have as much fun with it as I do with number 1. I mean, I saw this one before 2018, and I saw it, and I was like immediately just enthralled with John Carpenter's like direction. The score is incredible. It's incredible. I love the score. The cinematography is great. The effects are really cool. You can just tell a lot of love was put into this. Like a lot of love, a lot of creativity, blood, sweat, tears was just poured into this movie. And again, I don't think you can ever beat the classic 1978 original. It's perfect in every single way. People have talked about it for days and days on end, and I can talk about it for hours on end. I could go on and on about everything I love about this movie. It is so good. It just builds up tension and tension and tension, and just Michael Myers is this unstoppable force. He just keeps getting back up after you think you've killed him. Loomis is at his best here. I think way better than he is in any of the sequels, because he's trying to save Laurie. He's trying to convince everyone that Michael Myers is evil. He's back. And his monologue about the devil's eyes is just perfect. I love that monologue. This is like one of the movies that just like jump-started me into horror. You know, it was a shot in the arm that I desperately needed to get into horror movies. And now they're like my favorite genre, second favorite genre that I watch today. I mean, I love horror movies, and it was all because of Halloween. John Carpenter is just like a straight genius when it comes to this. I love this movie. I think everything about it is just almost pitch perfect. I do think, you know, maybe it's a little slow, but it's just pacing. You know, it's how it was back then. You watch any movie from the 70s, and just the pacing is a little bit slower. They kind of build up to it in the climax. And I think it's incredible. Probably one of, if not the best horror movie ever made. Most influential for me in my life by far. Most influential movie I've ever seen, if not one of them. I don't think you can beat it. But coming in at number 1, not the best Halloween movie, but by far my favorite, Halloween 2018. This movie is just so much fun to me. I've seen this movie a dozen times. I watch this movie with everybody. My friends, my girlfriend, not my family. It'd be kind of awkward seeing boobs with my family. I love this movie. It is so much fun. It's intense. The score is perfect. It's somehow even better than the 78 score. I think the 18 score is just incredible. I listen to it constantly on my record player, in my earbuds, you know, walking to school. I was listening to it today when I was walking to class, just to kind of get in the Halloween mood. That was so cringe. But I think it is incredible. Everything about this movie is so much fun. I know for a lot of people, the humor and some of the acting between the teenage and kid characters doesn't really work. I mean, for me, I think it's funny. I don't know why. I mean, I can see why it just breaks it up, but for some reason, it's kind of funny. It just makes me laugh. I don't know why. I don't know. Some people it works, some people it doesn't. For me, I just think it's pretty funny. Maybe it doesn't have the balance that Halloween Ends has with humor, but it's still pretty great. I mean, the acting from Jamie Lee Curtis is incredible. Laurie Strode is so good in this movie, with how like cool and how calm she is about everything and just collected. She wants to kill Michael Myers, and she goes out hunting him. And finally, with Will Patton's Hawkins, we get like a smart cop character, just freaking rams Michael with his car. Dr. Sartain is a big one for people that they don't like. And I can see why. I think it's another thing with David Gordon Green having an idea of the like opposite side of the spectrum with Loomis, who wants to kill him. Dr. Sartain wants to empower him. He wants to keep going, wants to see what Michael's capable of. I think it's a very interesting idea. Again, I don't think it's executed the best, but it's like a 5-minute sequence. As soon as it ends, it kickstarts like my favorite. It piggybacks off my favorite sequence, kickstarts my second favorite sequence with the ending with like the head stomp and the cops being killed. And if they would have ended the franchise here, I wouldn't have complained. I do like Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, but I think the perfect ending for this franchise was Halloween 2018. The freeze frame shot on the knife with Allison is awesome. It gives me chills. Again, this movie is perfect. I love this movie. Unashamed, I love this movie. Definitely one of the most influential movies in my lifetime for sure, along with the original. That's just my quick rundown of all 13 Halloween films. I probably talked way too fast, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, I just wanted to quickly get this out there. It's Halloween night. People are out partying. People are out doing everything. And I'm at my house watching movies. So pretty awesome. But yeah, if you have any ideas for a video, any requests, anything, just post them in the comments below if you've made it this far somehow. But I will be uploading every movie I watched in October ranked soon. I tried to watch 31 horror movies, didn't quite pan out, but they will also include all the Halloween films as well. So just keep an eye out for that if you're interested. If you like this content, just click subscribe, like the video, and share. And it was good to see you guys. Take care.